Now, before we get into the video, I want to put a bit of a disclaimer. Learning traditional Japanese medicine off of a short YouTube video is kind of impossible. Really, mentorship is key here in creating your practice. So while getting hints from videos like mine is an amazing way to start your practice, if you really want to develop it, you're going to have to find a mentor like myself or somebody else in the industry to really watch your practice. Now, if ShinKyu University sounds like a good fit for that, please do sign up for a link to chat with me. There's a link for that in the description box below. Oftentimes, TCM practitioners get confused with traditional Japanese medicine techniques because traditional Japanese medicine practitioners are using their non-dominant hand, or their Oshide, in order to help control the insertion of the needle. Today, I want to go through exactly what the Oshide is, why it's important, and why mentorship is really key here in learning how to bring it into your practice, even if you retain a TCM protocol in order to insert your points. Hi everyone, I'm Maya Suzuki, and I went to school in Japan and graduated from a traditional Japanese medicine school called Toyo ShinKyu Senmon Gakko, which is where I learned all of the information that I present to you here on this YouTube channel, and as well to my mentorship platform, ShinKyu University. When I first began in the acupuncture field in Japan as an apprentice, everybody used their Oshide, or their non-dominant hand, to help support the needle. And so I thought it was normal until I came back to the US and saw TCM practitioners only using their dominant hand for insertion, essentially darting the needles in, and I was very, very confused. So I kind of came at this problem from the opposite side that you probably are coming at this problem. Now, because I do mentor TCM practitioners from around the world, everywhere from India, America, Canada, Brazil, and everywhere else, I've come to a really stark conclusion that the Oshide can really make or break a traditional Japanese medicine practice. Now, you might not be aware that there are hundreds of styles of traditional Japanese medicine, from Toyohari to Ishizakiru to Iyashirimichi, which I practice. There's so many styles. A common factor and a common theme through all of these styles is that they are all utilizing their Oshide, or non-dominant hand, to support the needle as they insert it. So it's very, very fundamental. In fact, even TCM practitioners or classical Chinese-based practitioners in Japan that I have seen have all used their Oshide, or their non-dominant hand, to support the shaft as it is inserted. In fact, even the guide tube that everyone who's watching this is probably using at home, unless you do freehand needling technique, even the guide tube was made for additional support by a Japanese practitioner named Sugiyama Waichi. I'm not going to go into that history in today's video. I'd rather just really talk about the Oshide and its importance. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so let's get into the Oshide. Now, in order to practice this with me, you're going to want to have something like my needle pad here, so a piece of fruit will do just nicely. Oftentimes pillows or the bed frame are not good because they're just a little bit too squishy. So you're going to want to have something like an apple, an orange, pineapple, something like that. Or, of course, your own leg. And then you're going to want to also get a needle and possibly a guide tube. Now, the Oshide is 100% able to be utilized in a freehand technique, but because most practitioners around the world do utilize a guide tube, that's what I'm going to be showing you here today. Now, just to cover the tools that I'm using today, first of all, I of course have a needle and a guide tube. Now, my guide tube is a silver guide tube, so it's a little bit special. You don't need to have something so fancy. And then I have one of the needles that I use for my personal practice, and I definitely practice as often as I can. Now, I also have my needle case, or my Teishin case, which I sell on shinkyuuni.com. So if you're interested in getting a case like this, go over there. We have some other cases that are on the platform as well. So you can reach out to me in the comments below if you're interested. Now, the cool thing about this case is that it actually has places for all of your tools, your practice needles, and all of that. But not to digress too much, let's get into the Oshide. Now, I am a right-handed practitioner. I'm a right-handed human, which means my Oshide is going to be my non-dominant left hand. So the left hand is going to do most of the work in order to balance and give a little bit more strength to the shaft of my needle. So I'll give you a faraway view and then a close-up. So my left hand, again, my non-dominant, if you're a left-handed person, this is going to be your right hand. not only going to find the point, it's also going to create the Oshide. It's also going to hold the guide tube in place. And it's also going to act as a sensor for me, telling me when the key has arrived to the needle and how the tissue is changing underneath my hand. So my non-dominant hand, my Oshide, has a lot of jobs to do. Now, the reason why this is so important to use your Oshide and not just use your right hand is because now you don't have as much stability to your needle. And so oftentimes what happens with TCM practitioners is their needle angle changes because their dominant hand, for me, my right hand, is floating. And so when they go to insert the needle and put pressure, it often changes the direction of where their needle is going into. And this can change how it feels when it inserts in the body, can cause pain. And it can also definitely help the needle to miss the point. So we want to make sure the needle stays exactly where it needs to be. Your needle tip is very specific, and we want our point to be very specific. So we're going to use our Oshide. So there's a few rules of Oshide. First rule, once you've made your Oshide, don't change it, right? Second, always make sure that it's round. Notice that I have a downward slope from my shoulder to my hand. I'm not up like this. The next thing is that we want to make sure that we have good horizontal and vertical pressure. Horizontal is going to hold our shaft in place, and our vertical pressure is going to give us upward or downward thrust, depending on what we want to access. And then we can insert our tool. Now, some of the mistakes I see people do quite frequently is their wrist is very bent out when they make their Oshide. It has a hard curve here. Anytime you have a hard curve to any joint, it's going to cause you pain, and it's going to be a place where ki starts to pool, and that makes you more susceptible to receiving the bad energy or the bad chi, bad ki of your client, what we call the jaki. So we want to always stay round, like Qigong. So always round. And you'll notice that when I'm in this position, should probably even be a little bit more that way, my tool is in front of my dantian. So I'm facing exactly what I want to treat. Round left arm, round right arm. And then this way, I am ready to tap. Now, you notice I'm not holding on to my shaft. That's a whole other conversation. Don't hold on to your shaft to tap in. Have more freedom with your arm. All right, so just to give you a better view of what's happening. Again, my Oshide is going to find my point. It's going to have my wrist come out. And then my shaft is going to go in, allow my needle to drop. And this way, when I go to tap my needle in, my finger is there to support the shaft and to find my hold. Now, there's a lot of other little nuances that I'm doing here. So the first is that I'm closing or opening the point as per needed. So if it's a tonifying point, you want to close the whole dispersive point, leave it open. And then, as I mentioned before, this hand is acting as a sensor. So it's not only finding the points. Let's say if I wanted to do one over here. It's not only finding the points, but it can also now do a really good job of holding my shaft at an odd angle. Let's say I wanted to have a really obtuse or acute angle to my shaft. It'll hold that for me. Now, you might have noticed from this video that Oshide is extremely nuanced. There's a lot of things to pay attention to, and there's a lot of things that the Oshide is doing in order to enhance your acupuncture practice. Fun fact, by the way, the Oshide is utilized not only for acupuncture insertive needling, but also for shonishin or teishin treatment or non-insertive acupuncture. So if you're interested in that as well, you should definitely start perfecting your shonishin. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, unfortunately, learning any aspect of traditional Japanese medicine on your own is really, really difficult. I highly suggest finding a mentor in the field to really help guide your practice. If you would like to talk to me about that process and what mentorship looks like with me within ShinKyu University, I would love to talk to you. There's a link for that chat in the description box below. Let's set up a time to really go over your goals and your barriers and figure out the quickest way to get you proficient, efficient, and confident in traditional Japanese medicine to truly bridge the gap between your TCM and your TGM. Thank you everyone so much for watching this video all the way to the end. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell to be notified of future videos coming out all about traditional Japanese medicine. And also share this video with someone who might also benefit from bringing the Oshide into their practice. Now, if you're interested in really perfecting your moxa practice, you're going to want to watch this video right over here.